Joining me this week on One on One with Mitch Lafon is Black Label Society frontman and guitar hero Zakk Wylde. And on the other side, on the flip side, part two will be Brandon Yeagley, lead singer of CROBOT, a band that's going out on tour with Volbeat and Anthrax in the spring. And to discuss this with me this week is Mark Strigl of Talking Metal, the number one rock podcast in the universe. Is that about right?
No, close, but
Okay.
maybe number three maybe is more like it. I'll take number one in Canada. You told me, right?
Yeah, you're up in the top 100 in music podcasts in Canada, and when you break it down by genre from heavy metal, rock, and so on and so forth, you're the only one. I do not see our friend Eddie Trunk on there and other podcasts. So you are the Canadian leader.
Great, we'll take that.
You know, it's just like Burger King just took over Tim Hortons, so you guys just keep invading our Canadian space, but that's okay.
All right.
You know, what are you going to do? But Zakk.
What are you going to do? Zakk.
Yes. Well, listen, he has got the most exciting tour coming up this, well, he's on tour right now, actually. It's got the greatest name. It is the Zakk Wylde oh, wait, no. It's just Winter Tour 2014-2015. And the funny thing is I asked the label, I said, hey, so what's the name of the tour? And they went, it's just Winter Tour. So there you go. Why waste words? It's a lot easier to put Winter Tour on a T-shirt than some kind of made-up name. So there you go.
Yeah, there you go.
But Zakk, you got to love him. He's the greatest. I mean, the nicest person you'll ever meet, a true original, down to earth, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. From your neck of the woods, right? Out in New Jersey?
Originally from New Jersey and currently living in California. Yes. But yeah. And a lot of people think he's from the South. I meet so many people, they're like, oh yeah, he's from Texas. You know, no, he's from Central Jersey, actually.
Which is kind of like Texas, right?
I would say no, but maybe
exactly.
At times. Yeah.
What are your stories with Zakk? I mean, I have a couple. In fact, you know what? I'll share one right off the bat. Years and years ago, I was on Zakk's tour bus. He was playing a gig in Montreal behind a place called the Metropolis, and we got to talking, and he was like, "Oh man, this is the city where Aldo Nova lives," and so on and so forth. And at the time, I had Aldo Nova's phone number programmed in my cell phone because he lived about 3 blocks away from where I lived, and you know, of course, the music world being a small world, people sort of know each other and so on. And I said, "Well, I have his number. Do you want to call him?" And he goes, No, you're kidding, right?" And I said, No. So he picked the phone and he hit the speed dial and he called Aldo Nova. Now he got a message, but he's like, "Hey Aldo, it's Zakk. You got to come out to the show. I'm going to leave passes for you." And so on. And then after the phone call, he hung up, of course, and he went right there on the bus into his own rendition of "Life is Just a Fantasy."
Nice,
and it was the greatest moment ever because, you know, listen, there's a whole different falsetto and vocal going on there. So to hear Zakk do that and tear into it, impromptu on the bus was killer. One of the greatest stories I have in rock world.
Yeah, Zakk's can be a crazy guy. Was that just out of curiosity?
Yeah.
Post sobriety or pre sobriety?
This was I'm trying to think. This was probably like 2002, 2003. Yeah.
So pre sobriety.
Yeah, but I mean, he wasn't under the influence at the time.
Well, okay.
It was pre-show, so this was then again, but it was just a great moment. Absolutely, one of the funniest things I've ever gotten to witness.
Yeah, no, he's almost as funny as he is. You know, he's almost as good at being funny as he is at playing guitar. Yeah. The guy's hysterical, and that's the one thing. He just, whenever I'm around him, he's just always just cracking the jokes. I mean, they never stop. And yeah, what a great guy, and a guy who always, I don't know how well he actually knows me. I've jammed with him on our Fuse show. We've hung out for long periods of time, but not sure he actually knows my name, but whenever I see him, he hugs me, and it's and talks to me like I'm his long lost friend. And he may do that to absolutely everyone he ever meets, but he always makes me feel special when I'm hanging around him.
Yeah, I think we've talked about this before. There's a few people out there that when you meet them and you talk to them, they just make you feel like you're the most important person in the world. Zakk is one of them. Rob Halford is definitely one of them.
Absolutely, yeah.
Alice Cooper is definitely one of them. And I'm pretty sure if you showed them my picture and said, "Who is this guy?" none of them would know. And that's not an insult to anybody. But when you're in a room with them, those three especially are just so kind, so genuine. So, hey, how's it going? How are you feeling? Here's a joke. Here's a story. It's just great people to have gotten to meet in my life, I must say. I will always give props to those three in terms of how nice and how genuine and how just great human beings they are. Absolutely.
Cool.
Shall we stop talking and let Zakk take over?
Absolutely. Let's check this interview out.
Here you go. Here's Zakk, folks. We are speaking with Zakk Wylde. Good day, sir. Always a pleasure.
Hey there, hi there, oh there.
See, that's what I like. I like the insanity right off the top. You've got a great Canadian tour coming up, but I want to talk to you about something before that. I want to talk to you about the fans. Back years and years ago, 93, 94, 95, your email address was in Metal Edge magazine, and every Sunday night you'd have this AOL chat room where you'd come in and speak to the fans. And just want to know, what do the fans mean to you?
Well, with Black Label, we don't have fans, we have fams. So it's one gigantic dysfunctional family, and we put the fun in dysfunction.
Yeah.
But no, it's. I mean, it really is awesome. I mean, I'm just saying with Black Label, I mean, like worldwide, where everywhere where it's grown into this thing over the last, obviously since '98, since Black Label started, but it's just. I mean, I'm just saying. Well, I mean, everybody now, even with their kids or whatever, we're coming down to the show. It's like, dude, Frank, I remember when your son was born. You know what I mean? And then they're coming down to the shows and everything like that. So, it's pretty amazing, man. Without that, but I mean, it's really awesome.
Yeah, it really was amazing. I'm just thinking back to those days. I mean, here you were, a guy who had toured the world with Ozzy Osbourne. You had the Pride and Glory album out, and you would show up every Sunday night. And it just always has been something that has made me a fan of yours because you went above and beyond. And I think that's also what Black Label does, right? It's just very fan friendly.
Yeah, I mean, but to me, I never got it anyways. I'm just saying with the, being a complete tool bag, to anyone I just like ask for like, a picture or an autograph, whatever. I mean, I'm just saying, just take 2 seconds, man. And now we had everyone meeting the cool people anyway. So, I've never had any problems with that. I mean, or just ever understood where it's just like, good, it takes 2 seconds, just be nice to somebody, man. So, really? But, anyways, it's like you said, I mean, whenever we have the Black Label meet and greet, so Doom, I mean, it's always a good time. It's just like I said, it's a Black Label family gathering. So, and we're just a house band. So it's definitely cool.
Yeah, it really is. Catacomb of the Black Vatican came out in 2014, earlier this year. You were, in the early days, very prolific. I mean, you had an album out. It seemed almost every month, even though that's an exaggeration. But what are the plans for this one? Do you stay on the road with it for a couple more years, another 15 months or so? Or are you already thinking of the next new Black Label?
Well, I mean, I've written a ton of stuff since I've been home, since we came off the road. So, I mean, like every morning, we wake up, get a cup of alcoholics, I'll sit with the acoustic, and I just start writing away. So, I've got I pretty much got an album worth of stuff that can go right now. But no, I mean, and I'll just record them, just the outlines of them and the skeletons of it. I mean, because usually when I'm writing songs, I write them from beginning to end anyway. So, right. I usually don't have bits and pieces laying around, but But I mean, that happens every now and then. But just get a cool riff, and then I'll just lock that away. But I mean, usually like the Catacombs and with pretty much every other Black Label album, I have nothing. We go in the studio, and then you start building the house. So I mean, the whole thing is, that you get inspired when you're in there. You know what I mean? Right. So it's just because everything sounds good. And, the drums sound like cannons, and then you start making riffs, and then sit down, start doing the acoustic thing, the piano thing, whatever. So, I mean, like this last album, I asked, The Immortal Beloved, I was just like, well, how much time do I have before the fellas get out here? She was like, they'll be out here in 25 days. And then you start making the record. And I said, all right, well, cool. I said, so that means I got 25 days to write an album. Wow. All right, cool. So, yeah, and then, me and you, every day I just go out in the garage and just have a couple of Valhalla Java, hang out, and then grab a guitar and go out there and start jamming through my Marshall and writing riffs. And then, you have something cool that you really dig, you know what I mean? So, and then that's it. Then the guys get out here, have the fellas stay out for like 2 weeks. We start tracking. I mean, Chad was probably done with his drums in about 5 days. And then, but I, just keep Chad out, just in case you pull something out of your ass, when you wake up tomorrow, you write something like, like Whole Lot of Love or whatever, you write it Into the Void type thing. I mean, it's just like, all right, cool. We got you out here, so why don't we record it? So that's why I'll keep the guys out for like 2 weeks. JD will do his thing, and then JD goes home, then I'll knock out all my guitar stuff and vocals, and then JD comes back out, and then JD and Adam, mix the soup, and then we're good to go.
Do you think we'll see something new in 2015, or is the plan now, like, let's get to 2016 and we'll see what happens then?
Well, I because I mean, like as of late, I mean, ever since we did Shot to Hell, I mean, it's pretty much been 4 years of just working the album. But I know what you're saying. I mean, in the early days of Black Label, I mean, it was like pretty much an album a year.
Yeah.
I mean, back in the studio tour, right back in the studio tour. I mean, which I enjoy that too, because I mean, you're playing, so I mean, and you're doing what you love, so it doesn't matter to me. So I mean, but in between the 4 years, we've literally been working the whole time.
Right.
So I mean, it's not. We did the album, then we toured for a year, and then I took 3 years off. I mean, of doing nothing. I mean, I'd go out of my friggin' mind. I mean, with Axl, with Appetite for 14 years, I'd go out of my friggin' mind. Even if you're writing songs, I mean, I'd be like, dude, let's record these things and like get out there and start playing them for people. I mean, I'm like going out of my mind here, dude. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, because I love work. I love porn and I love working. I mean, because it's just like, I get guys that are my age now that when we first, I first started with Oz when I was 19, 20 years old. Now that I'm 47, guys will be like, man, Zakk, you still like torn? It's like, man, I couldn't stand it anymore, man. I like being home, and it's not, I'm like, I love it, dude.
Yeah.
I mean, but then again, I love the whole thing. I love practicing. I love writing. I love recording. I love the touring. I love. There's not one aspect of the process I don't like. Like, I mean, back when I played football and everything like that, I love lifting weights. I love the practice. I love the 2 days when we were doing football. So I mean.
Speaking,
I look forward to it.
Since you just mentioned football and you mentioned love and practicing, and this is sort of off the beaten path here, but are you feeling a lot of love for the New York Giants this year?
No, what can you do when guys are hurt? And no, but it's the truth. I mean, put it this way: you have a coach and a quarterback that have won 2 Super Bowls, and a QB that's a 2-time Super Bowl MVP, and he's beaten Captain America twice. So it's not that what all of a sudden they got bad. I mean, I'm just saying, it's just like the offensive line. But I mean, it's just like any team. It doesn't matter whether it's Captain America or Drew Brees or Peyton Manning. I mean, if you don't have guys, if you don't have if you have an offensive line that's banged up and can't block for you, and you can't run the ball, you're done, dude. I mean, it's just like in baseball. Me and you are coaching a team. If we have no pitching, we might as well not even show up.
That's right. Well,
it really doesn't even matter. I mean, like the Yankees, it doesn't matter whether you got A-Rod, you got Reggie Jackson, we got Babe Ruth, Mickey Mantle, and we got Lou Gehrig in the lineup. It really doesn't even matter because we're going to lose 22-21.
Yeah. Absolutely.
It really doesn't matter. I mean, all the years that the Yankees went on that stretch from 96 on, it was just amazing pitching. And all those years that the Braves were beyond silly, insane good, which you probably never see again. You know, that you got like a couple good pitchers. You have Hall of Fame pitchers.
5 of them.
Like all on one team. I mean, it's like insanity.
In one rotation.
So the level of consistency there. But the reason why they won every year is because they had good pitching. So and the same thing with football. So if you don't have an offensive line, I mean, John Madden always said it all starts there.
It all starts. Yeah. Well, you know what? Listen, as a Washington fan, I've got nothing to crow about, unfortunately.
But I mean, you as a Skins guy, I got friends that are just like, dude, Robert Stein, I can't stand it. I go, really? I go, what, because he's like George Steinbrenner of football? I go, what, because he wants to win every year?
Yeah.
I go, you can't fault him for not trying to put good guys out on the field. I mean, you can't help it if RG3's been, he's had 3 broken legs. It's just like, what can you do? I mean, they made the push to get him because he's the best player coming out of the draft. But it's what it is, man.
Unfortunately, his time is over. I do want to ask you a couple more questions here about music. Go figure. A couple of the other bands you've worked with. You did a song with Black Veiled Brides, a cover of Kiss's Unholy. You put in a solo on that. What attracted you to that project, and what do you think of some of these newer bands coming up?
A band like Black Veiled Brides, it's guitar-driven music. So, I mean, and now it's all super cool kids, and I mean, like that, and they bust their ass, and they're working their asses off. So, God bless them. But, I got involved with that because Blasco managed me. He manages Black Veil, and they were like, hey, man, do you think Zakk would throw a solo down on this? I'm like, yeah, no problem, man. So, I mean, the thing is, if I have the time, if we're not touring and I'm not, cleaning the dog run and changing diapers, I mean, if I can fit it in between world peace and stuff like that, and trying to figure out how you cannot damage your liver through alcohol. Coming up with that discovery. If I could fit it in, it's just like, without a doubt, because I love playing, man. So
yeah.
I mean, that's usually how all those things come about. When I guest on somebody's records,
Yeah, it was just amazing to me because we had a chat once years ago, and you said, no, I was raised on Sabbath, I was raised on Led Zeppelin, I was never a Kiss fan. And then here you show up on a Kiss cover, and I went, okay, interesting.
No, because I was never. I mean, put it this way, he's a Kiss freako for sure. I mean, like Gene Simmons is the one who got him started playing bass and playing music. I mean, that was his guy. So I mean, and JD's the big Kiss guy. But no, I was, like I said, I had my buddies that were all Kiss freakos, and I was just always, it was Sabbath and Zeppelin for me. I mean, those were my guys. But no, the Kiss, dude, it's undeniable. I mean, not only that, the production on the older records and everything, I mean, they're really good songs. I mean, because people, I mean, without a doubt, when you listen to Kiss, you could, I mean, take away the makeup and the pyro and the amazing live show and everything like that, where they brought that to, they changed the game in that regard. So,
agreed.
No, without a doubt. But I mean, I'm just saying, if you just listen to the music on the whole, they're great songs. I mean, they're great records, great performances. So, I mean, it is what it is. So, I mean, it's just like,
it's
but no, I mean, yeah, without a doubt, man. You can't say it's not fucking amazing.
Well, it's lasted 40 years for a reason.
You don't like them. I mean, that's like saying you don't like Barbra Streisand, but it's like saying that she can't sing. You can't say that.
No. Listen, I love Kiss. Speaking of something I love is your Book of Shadows album, the very first one. And we've spoken about this a bunch of times in the past too, but how do you look back on that album? And here was the first album where you put your name on it. It wasn't Pride and Glory. It wasn't Black Label. It wasn't part of Ozzy's thing. A lot of folks were expecting this guitar soloing crazy album, and you chose to go very different, very acoustic. Was that just sort of a natural progression to get to that point, or was it conscious to say, no, I want to do something different? And just looking back on, to me, what is your greatest album ever, what do you think of Book of Shadows? What was the story?
As much as I, love Alvin Neal and John McLaughlin, I also love, I love Neil Young, man, and and I love, especially I love all Neil stuff, but I mean I love it when he sits with the acoustic and the harmonica, when he sits behind the piano and stuff like that. But it's my love for that music as well. So I'm just playing.
But it caught people off a surprise. It caught people by surprise, though, because here they were, Zakk Wylde, just out of OZZY. I think they were expecting a Sabbath album or an OZZY album out of you, and you threw them a curveball. A brilliant curveball, but you threw them a curveball.
I guess so, but I mean, to me, it's not a curveball. I mean, when we were doing, with OZZY, we're doing Mama, I'm Coming Home, and we're doing Road to Nowhere, and we're doing stuff like that. So, but like I said, I mean, that's just the music. When we'd be sitting in the tour bus with Oz, and we're doing another 18-hour drive after we get done just doing a show, me and you would be sitting up front. You'd be in the captain's chair. I'd be sitting on the floor, and we'd have Dino driving. I mean, you'd be cranking Eagles, Neil Young, Elton John, Crowded House. I mean, like any mellow stuff. Allman Brothers, Greg Allman. Any cool killer mellow stuff, and the band, like all that stuff. So the whole thing is, we just be sitting up front, solving the problems of the world, and just bullshitting, and drinking, and and having a great time. I mean, that would be the music we'd be listening to. So, I mean, so to me, it wasn't anything different that I do now. I mean, on the new Black Label album, we have Angel of Mercy and all these other things. So,
at some point, do you see yourself making another Zakk Wylde album away from Black Label, away from OZZY, and just doing something that's just you? Yeah,
but I mean, to me, I mean, Black Label, I mean, there's nothing we can't do in there either. I mean, the new album between, Angel of Mercy, Scars, and Shades of Grey, I mean, any of those could have been on a Book of Shadows record.
Yeah, no, I agree. I've mentioned OZZY a couple of times. Taking out the music and the touring and everything, what does OZZY mean to you as a man, just as a person? What does he mean to you?
I mean, it's just OZZY. His heart's bigger than his body, man.
Right.
I mean, he really is the coolest dude on the planet. Like I said, like I had the two coolest guys on my planet. Between my dad and then like OZZY would be. Like how it is with my kids. I mean, you have J-Man, our one son who's 22, and the little guy who's 2 now. So, it was almost kind of like that. So, I mean, it was just like OZZY being an older brother. I'm saying in that regard. So, I had my dad and then OZZY being like the older brother. So it's just, and it's always been a blast, man. So, and then, and at that age, if I ever needed any advice or anything like that, I could always either go to either one of them, and then they just say, well, life's tough, and then they just poke me in the eye, and then I just walk away crying. So, that was the advice they give me.
Oh, that's funny. Now, let's get back to this tour. It's coming through Canada in fact, late December, early January. From what I can see, the only name it has is Winter Tour 2014-15. Did I miss something? Does it have an actual tour name? Or is that just it?
It's a liquor tour. Or freeze your balls and labia off tour.
Well, yeah, pretty much. I mean...
no, it's going to be a blast because, I mean, we've rolled with Butcher Babies before, so and they're really great friends of ours. And the same thing with Jamie and the rest of the fellows in Hatebreed. So once again, it's a chance to roll with a bunch of great friends and just have a good time, man.
Yeah, and Hatebreed is definitely going to give you a run for the money. I mean, when you see a band as talented as Hatebreed that delivers every night, do you feel any pressure? Do you just go, oh crap, we got to really pick up our game tonight, or is it just like, it'll be what it'll be?
It's not so much musically. I mean, we know that's already there, but it's right. It's the other factor that other people don't factor in. You already know Hatebreed can throw down like somebody, but it's Father Justice, Robert Redford, good looks, and it's that he brings and the charisma that he brings to the stage. That so right now, I'm taking charisma lessons, and I've been hitting the gym extra hard. to try and compete with Father Jocelyn.
Well, since we mentioned Kiss, they do have a song called Charisma on their Dynasty album. Maybe you should play that one.
It's funny that you mention that. I listened to that thing repeatedly while I was drinking Baja Java in the morning. So it just sinks in. Yes, of course, you have to.
Yeah, that'll be perfect. That'll be the on stage or the before blackout music for Black Label. You just have Charisma come on to the venue.
It's going to be an awesome time for sure, man.
Over the years, with all the interviews and all the chats we've had, there's one thing I've always wanted to ask, but I always thought that you would probably slap me if I did. You were on the Britny Fox album, Bite Down Hard. I'm just curious, again, how did you get involved? Because that was so not what you were doing back then. How did you get onto a Britny Fox album?
Well, no, we were doing, I think it was either doing No More Tears. I remember they were in the studio. There were a bunch of Philadelphia guys. So
yeah, and Johnny D's one of the nicest people I know. I mean, he's fantastic.
All great. Oh, all super cool guys, man. So the whole thing is we were doing No More Tears, and they were in the studio as well. And Dwayne and John, who did No More Tears, I think we were in there working on something, and they came in, and we were playing Madden football, and they were like, Dwayne and John, hey, Zakk, man, you think you could put a solo on this thing? I said, yeah, sure, man. I just walked right in the control room, and I just knocked it out right there. It was that easy, and then we went back to playing Madden football.
That's funny. I love how nothing has changed over the years. It's play guitar, watch football, and total insanity. It's a beautiful thing, I must say. It's a beautiful thing.
You don't want that to change.
No, it's perfection. And then I guess I'll just finish on this because I know you only had a 20-minute spot here, but you mentioned No More Tears. That to me is the album, for me, and perhaps my perception is wrong, that propelled you from just the guy in Ozzy's band to sort of the superstar guitar god, the next level. First of all, do you agree with that perception? Is that where you sense things are like, oh, I'm not just the guy in a band, I'm just, and that album, what does that one mean to you?
No, I mean, that just meant that I'm not working at the gas station anymore.
Yeah. But I mean, you were in the album. You were in the album before, and it was just like, oh, okay, that's Ozzy, and he's got a new guitarist. But when No More Tears came out, it was just like, oh, Zakk, got it.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, to me, I had an awesome time when we made No Rest for the Wicked, with Miracle Man and everything like that. I mean, so, and like you said, that was my first Ozzy record. So I mean, that'll always be. And Miracle Man was the first riff. So I mean, the whole thing is. No, I mean, it's not that well, No More Tears is obviously a bigger record or whatever, but no, I like I said, I mean, I loved, when I look back from Rest of the Wicked to me and you talking on the phone right now, Book of Shadows and all this other stuff. I mean, like each one of those records, every record I've done, even up to Catacombs, I've never, like when you hear some people go, oh man, that album, I didn't have I've never done. I mean, I've always had a good time making any one of these records I've ever made. So it's like, let's say if you were producing a new Ozzy record, we'd be hanging out all the time, doing whatever, and and then obviously during the drinking days, I mean, it was even more comedy rolling around, and it's just like us having a good time. It's like, all right, let's go do what we love. We love playing music. So, and you do the best job you can, and you hope it comes out good. So,
yeah, it generally does.
And I think when you look at every one of those records, it's just like a timeline. It's just like looking at old pictures. Like high school photos, you know what I mean? So, and I mean, like I'm saying with all the artists we love, I'm sure when Jimmy Page and Robert Plant look back on, they can tell you exactly where they were at and what was going on in their lives when they looked back on each record. You know what I mean? And like Ozzy, same thing with Oz, where he could look back on each one of those Sabbath records and go, in fact, I remember, when I hear the stories when Ozzy tells me, he's like, oh yeah, when we were doing Volume 4, Zakk, I remember blah, 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 blah. And it, gives me all this Carlin comedy, you know what I mean, and just where they were at. And then, when Ozzy tells me, like, well, this was the beginning of the end or whatever, it's just like, yeah, I think, Zakk, it just sucked at this point, whatever, when he was saying that, like, the management, the drugs, and he said it was just like the down, like, right around here was the down. It was coming to an end, I mean, what he just said, like, it just started turning to shit or whatever, but, And I mean, it's always interesting hearing when the boss tells you these stories, because it really, I mean, that's the beautiful thing about music. I mean, and movies. I mean, like when you look at them, me and you could just look and go, dude, you could tell this movie. Look at the cars. It's like 1972. When this movie made, you know what I mean? I mean, the best is like when you watch Rollerball with James Caan. It's set in the future. It's supposed to be in like the year 2095. Yet James Caan still has the massive collars on. He has the polyester suit on and bell bottoms.
Well, that look may come back to our detriment.
No, but it's so awesome. He's still wearing the clothes from 1975, yet the buildings look all futuristic.
See, that has got to be your stage outfits for this upcoming tour. You've got to bring out the big lapels and the bell bottoms and just look 1977. That would be classic.
And people ask me, they go, "What is this?" I go, "What's the matter? You don't like Rollerball with James Caan?"
It's the greatest. It's the greatest, especially since all this future technology. We're like light years ahead of what they're supposed to be in 50 years from now. So hey. So then, I guess the final closing one then is there a defining moment in your career? I mean, for me, the turning point, like I said, was No More Tears. That's the one where you went from just the long-haired guy in Ozzy's band to, oh, I got to take this guy seriously. He's the shit. Do you have a defining moment for yourself?
No, but I think I think definitely those. What you're talking about is it all rings true. I mean, I think just with me. I mean, like we could talk about whatever all these artists, whether it's Metallica, right. When the Black Album came out, you know what I mean, and it was like Lights Out, you know what I mean, or whatever. It was just a build up to then, or just like Rush. It was a build. Permanent Waves was definitely, you could tell it was the predecessor waiting for the Led Zeppelin 4 and their Sgt. Pepper's, which was moving pictures. You know what I mean? Yeah. And you could hear the growth going into that thing. So no, and being a fan of bands and being a fan of music, I know what you're talking about. I mean, I love looking at it that way too.
Yeah, absolutely. And from what I gather, there is no stopping you. There is no farewell tour anytime in the next 35 years, I would imagine, right?
There can't be, because I'm like Norm at Cheers. I'm still paying off those old Black Label debts, those unpaid bar tabs. And trust me, they're pretty lofty, man.
That'll certainly keep you busy for the next 40 years. Do you get a special interest rate on the bank for those loans, or?
And the best part is, I mean, the best part is I don't drink anymore, but I'm still paying off past beer tabs.
I can imagine. Listen, I've seen a couple of those tours up close and personal. There was some stuff going on, and you know what? When you get to Montreal in January, let's hope for once and for all that Aldo Nova will show up.
Yes. Because let's always remember, in Black Label, life is just a fantasy.
There you go. It just is. Zakk, always a pleasure. Look forward to the show in January. I will be there, obviously. I cannot miss a Zakk Wylde show.
Oh, my brother. Well, I look forward to seeing you, my brother, and tell the rest of the Toronto chapter out there to stay strong, keep bleeding black. God bless, and I'll see you in a little bit, my brother.
Absolutely. Thank you, Zakk.
All right, brother. Take care, bud.
Cheers now. Bye-bye.
What you just heard was Mitch's interview with the one and only Zakk Wylde. Great stuff, Mitch. Thanks for sharing that. Yeah. And before we continue on here, let's just remind the listeners about a few things. You can support Mitch with a PayPal donation. His PayPal account is mitchminute@aol.com. You can also listen to the other podcasts that are also a part of the Talking Metal digital family. And you can do that by going to talkingmetaldigital.com. Mars Attacks, which had been in hiatus for a while, is now back, so you can check that out. My show, Talking Metal, and we have another show, Talking Rock, and of course, One-on-One with Mitch Lafon, all part of the Talking Metal digital family, and all available on iTunes, iHeart, Spreaker, Stitcher, wherever you want to listen to your shows.
Yeah, and I'm really enjoying the metal rap show that we do.
Oh yeah, forgot about that one.
Yeah, I think that's a great one. And you mentioned Mars Attacks. Here's a little sneak. I'm going to be on it with Victor and Chris from the Decibel Geek podcast. We're going to be talking Kiss, of course. So,
oh wow, great!
Tune in for that one. That's coming up in the next couple of weeks. And why don't we move on to our next fabulous interview? Brandon Yeagley of the band CROBOT. They have an album called Something Supernatural that we discuss, and they've got this tour that I mentioned up front with Volbeat and Anthrax. There's a lot of excitement behind this band. There are a lot of heavyweights, and I'm not going to start naming which record companies and which publicists and all that, but knowing who they are, they've got all the right parts to be the next big thing. They've got the talent. They've got the right people behind them. And listen, they're on the right tour to be smack in there with Anthrax and Volbeat, really to sort of get their first taste of a full North American tour is pretty impressive. So I really think that this is a band that folks who especially love hard rock, heavy metal, should consider checking out and start getting excited about, because I think the next 10, 15 years could be CROBOT time, the CROBOT decade.
Cool.
Are you much of a fan? Do you know them at all?
I don't know much about them, but after that talk up, I'm definitely going to be checking them out. I'm Googling them right now. They sound like a lot of fun. And
it's sort of, the music is sort of a little bit everywhere, but if I had to classify it, and this might sound sort of strange, but they're sort of stoner rock, but if Sebastian Bach was lead singing it, the vocalist has just got an incredible range. I mean, he can go anywhere, like Sebastian used to do, and they've got this stoner sort of 1971, 72 Black Sabbath kind of thing going on. So it's like, Skid Row meets Black Sabbath. It's really interesting. And listen, with the powerhouse that's behind them, I don't see how they can fail, quite frankly.
Cool. Well, I'm checking them out as soon as we finish recording this podcast.
Absolutely. So, hey, why don't we just listen to Brandon of CROBOT? And how are you?
Hey, how's it going?
Good. Great pleasure to speak with you. It's not often that you get to see these bands that are going to be the next Metallica and catch them when they're just getting started. So it's great to hear.
Oh, thank you so much, man. That's a huge compliment.
Yeah, so let's talk about all of this stuff. Something Supernatural, obviously, is the new album. Tell me a little bit about putting it together. You guys were working the circuit. You were doing the bar gigs and the club gigs and doing all these touring, and then Wind Up Records finds you. How did that happen?
Well, we formed the band in 2011. Like you said, we just really just put our noses to the grind and really just got out there and played as much as we could and wrote as much as we could. And I think it was around January, maybe December of about 2 years ago now, I guess it would be 3 years ago.
Yeah.
But during that time, we had some discrepancies with our lineup. It seems like every band, goes through that till they find that chemistry, between members, and the final upgrade happened during that time period, and we got the Figueroa brothers on board. And I think it was a few days after that, Wind Up had called us. It was a crazy month there because they had just moved into my place and were crashing out on my floor, and we practiced like 6 to 8 hours a day and getting ready for this Wind Up showcase that we had. And it was a month to the day that they moved into my place. We were showcasing for Wind Up, and it took a few months to get everything inked out, but we couldn't be happier with those guys. They treat us really well, and it's definitely like our family. And through that we got the Nuclear Blast deal, which in Europe, which we're really ecstatic about. And but all of it seemed to happen very fast and in weird ways. The way Wind Up found us, their manager of A&R was checking out a video on a competition to enter to win the Grammys to play the the nominee show or
right.
something of the sort. But his friend actually told him to check out their video on there, and he did. And after he watched their video, he got up and walked away from the computer, and he heard our track, because our track was the next in the queue list.
In the playlist or whatever, right?
Yeah, yep. And he loved what he heard and ran back to the computer. By the time he got back there, the video was over. And he clicked back and watched, which was then our video for The Legend of the Spaceborne Killer, the first one that we had made.
Yeah, greatest song title ever.
What's that?
I said that's a great song title. You got to love that song title.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, but it was just a weird occurrence, how he found out about us. And after that, he just watched us on the social media websites and Facebook and whatnot for about 3 weeks before they contacted us, and it was just all happened very quickly. And we recorded the album in December of 2013, I guess it was. So it was took a little bit for us to record after we actually got everything situated with the label and whatnot till we got into the studio with Machine. But even the way we met our producer Machine on this record was just crazy synchronicity. We played South by Southwest 2 years ago.
Right.
It was our first trip to the festival. We played a wind-up showcase there, and living in New Jersey, Machine had all of his alarms set for Eastern time. So when he got to Austin, all of his alarms were happening at the wrong time and sending him to the wrong place at the wrong time, right place at the wrong time rather. And he mistakenly caught our set there and approached me afterwards and just exclaimed that he didn't know who we were, if we had a label behind us or a management behind us or anything of the sort. But he was really interested in working with us, and thankfully we had the whole team with us that night at the showcase, and we pretty much got everything rolling that night. And we continued to hang out with Machine during our trip at the festival. We only had like 2 shows that week, so we really partied the rest of the week at South by, but we hung out with him and really got to know him on a personal level, and his track listing just by itself speaks volumes.
Well, yeah, let's Clutch, Lamb of God.
Yeah, exactly. And one of my favorite albums of all time is Blast Tyrant, and just the fact that he had a hand in all of that, it really was a testament to his knowing what we wanted and what we were looking to accomplish with this record, especially working with Wind Up, our first major. It's like a debut. Basically, the world has not really seen too much of us, and working with Wind Up now, we have a much broader audience. So it seemed to have a lot of pressure on us for this album, but it was just really very comfortable situation, and we had stockpiles of songs coming into this record, like 50 songs or something like that. Narrowed it down to 15 eventually, but going into the studio with Machine, it was just so comfortable, and because we've got that time to really develop our relationships outside of the studio, and we were really comfortable putting our babies in his hands in the chopping block.
Yeah, and he did a great job with the album. Why is it important these days to still have a record company? I mean, so much has been made about record companies are going bankrupt. They don't know what they're doing. You got to go to Pledge Music. You got to go to, feed your stuff on Spotify. Why is it still important to have a record company behind you, a label behind you?
I think first and foremost, it's the touring aspect, and a label will definitely keep you on the road, and they're sort of always a contingency plan as to in the formula if things were to go awry. And it's cool for us because we're such a young band, and it almost seems like a shortcut for us because we've been out there and we've been playing as much as we could, and we got to this point because we've worked so hard and put a lot into it. But it takes a lot to keep a band afloat and especially to keep us out on the road. So They definitely help with that first and foremost. But when we sat at my kitchen table a month before South by Southwest putting together our dream list of producers, we wouldn't have been doing that if it weren't for having Wind Up behind us. We would still have to manage things on a budget, and eventually we aspire to get to having the connections that you get with a label, or having just the funds and the finances that are available to you in the long run. But for us, as having such a short-lived career thus far, it's definitely a shortcut for us.
It really is. Now, a lot has been made about you, the band, being on the road so much. Do you do anything to protect your voice? Because you blow that out and it's over. So are you just sort of going out there and rocking it out, or do you have a whole regiment of, honey candy and hot tea, or are you doing anything to protect yourself?
Absolutely. And it's been a journey thus far in my career to sort of find those things that really help me or really affect my voice in a negative way. And unfortunately, I don't party too hard out there. I can't really drink too much alcoholic beverages. Just the main killer for me. Once I start boozing, it's way downhill, and it'll affect me into the next night. And it's definitely something I don't do until I have a few days off afterwards. Then I'll really go hard at it. But that, and I deal with acid reflux on a daily basis, so I got to make sure I stay away from certain foods before showtime. But that doesn't steer me away from the occasional pre-show burrito, mind you. But I try to stay pretty strict with everything, and I warm up every day for the most part. Every day, at least, that we have a show, and I'm not one of those guys who tries to not talk as much. I don't really believe in that yet. Maybe there's good reason for it that I haven't found yet. But
wait till you hit 45.
Possibly. So, but yeah, I mean, just a lot of honey. Honey's the main, the key ingredient in everything. And I have these other little things that I use, like slippery elm, lozenges. Those are lifesavers, no pun intended. Also, a lot of people really claim that hot tea is a great thing for the voice, but I've been finding that hot things can actually do just as much bad as cold liquids, which will shock your vocal cords and actually change your tone. So I've cut out tea, and it's also a diuretic, which people forget about too. So it's going to dry your throat out more than anything. But honey is the main ingredient, I think, in the hot tea with honey that really helps things. But, I mean, it's definitely a regimen.
Let's talk about this. Sorry to cut you off there, but let's talk about this great tour. I mean, what a great package! Volbeat, Anthrax, CROBOT. You're pretty much covering all of Canada in May. From all the way out to Grand Prairie, Alberta, to Montreal, and everywhere in between. Fans of those two bands?
Say that last part again? Sorry.
I'm just talking about the spring tour coming up, the May tour with Volbeat and Anthrax. Are you a fan of those bands?
Yeah. We've hung out with Rob Caggiano quite a few times. When we play New York, he usually, if he's home, he'll come out to a show. So we've known Rob for a year or maybe even two at this point. But just great guys. They're great guys to be around. They're a great time to hang out with, and the return of Anthrax is just that's just incredible to me. I grew up a fan of the band, and just ecstatic about the whole thing. And like you said, the Canadian portion of it, especially, it's going to be our first time in Canada, and
very
we're
much
really
looking forward to
that because, like you said, we pretty much cover the whole thing. So.
Yeah, I'm very much looking forward to it. I mean, it's a great triple bill. Both the other two bands deliver. I haven't seen CROBOT yet, but I'm sure it's going to be fantastic. The musical style, it's been described as pretty much everything under the rock, from doom metal to stoner rock to just great old classic hard rock. When you set the band together and you started playing that, there really wasn't a place for it in the market. I mean, people are all about pop songs and love songs. And was there any decision at some point that we need to modify our sound or be more radio friendly, or you're just doing what you're doing and that's it?
Yeah, we're really just being ourselves and putting everything that we are, as people and musicians into this thing. And it's we're really just products of our influences, and we kind of let it all out there when we write, when we're playing live, and in every aspect of what we do. It's just it's really what we live. And we never really sought out for any kind of sound or any motive as to we need to write some radio songs or anything like that. And it's actually pretty surprising to me that we've been picked up by the U.S. radio waves. We never really thought of ourselves as that kind of band, and that's just it's really crazy, and it's cool to see that sort of support on that side of things, because I might be the only one, but I think we're kind of different from what's on the waves today. And we're really just out there being ourselves, and tipping our hat to bands like Sabbath and Zeppelin, and Clutch and Rage Against the Machine, Soundgarden, all bands that we love.
So where do you go from here? Do you already start thinking? I mean, the album just came out in October, so it's a month ago. Do you already start thinking about, okay, what do we do for the next one? Or you're like, okay, let's just relax, let's just go tour, we'll worry about that later? Because there is a pressure for a new band to get new material, kind of new stuff all the time.
Yeah, you know what? It's fortunately for us, it's really easy. Once we get in there and to the writing shed, we find it's really easy for us to riff stuff out and set structures and finish songs. We record every jam session, and we have stockpiles of songs that we didn't use for this round. We had like 50 songs, I think, going into this album. So there's still a few, and one we've even pulled that we started playing live again. We miss it so much. So there's definitely some great CROBOT tracks still on the stockpile.
Still lurking.
Yet to come. What's that?
I said there's still CROBOT tracks lurking in a vault somewhere, so that's good.
Very much so, very much. We continue to write as much as we can. Being on the road, obviously, it complicates things a little more. But yeah, it's something that we've always found really easy, and I think that'll definitely help.
Yeah, it really did. Now, I was told we had about 15 minutes, so let me finish on this. Because you've been described in the media with all these different monikers, with all these different styles, and I mean, you've been described as dirty rock guru, like I said before. Who are your influences, and how do you just qualify the band? Where do you put yourself in that spectrum of rock?
Well, I think we're capable of reaching different ends of the spectrum, and you'll find just about all of that stuff in our songs. There are more doomy songs, there are more sludgy tracks, but I think we still remain to be funky and groovy at the same time. And we, like I said, the Sabbath, the Zeppelin, the Deep Purple, Rainbow, and anything that Dio is involved in is, especially for myself, I was really heavily influenced by Dio, especially in Rainbow. Mm-hmm. Even down to lyrics and everything. Huge fans of Clutch and what they do, and the way they've handled their careers, and the way they've just managed to be sort of the modern Led Zeppelin in the way that they've hit so many ends of the spectrum of the genre, and weaved in and out the whole way. So it's we don't really have conversations as to what sort of songs we want to write. We just sort of let it all happen. But it's definitely our influences coming out, and we like to stay funky, we like to stay groovy, and we like to be sludgy and dirty all at the same time. So that's really our mission statement. But it's not really a conversation every time. We just sort of plug and go.
Yeah, and I think that's the best way to do it. But I got to say, I haven't been this excited about a new band and a new release in so many years, and it's just nice to hear something fresh but yet familiar at the same time. It was sort of like, I was listening to the album earlier today, and there are parts where it sounds like you got a James Brown funk going over a Sabbath song, and it's just great.
That's my thing. I wish I could show you. I have a portrait tattoo of James Brown on my good foot, so I'll never forget about James Brown.
Hey, but you've got the James Brown funk, but it's as if Black Sabbath was doing it. It's just brilliant. So very pleased to speak with you, and I wish you many, many years of success. And I very much look forward to being at the show in Montreal in May. So absolute pleasure, Brandon.
Hey, thanks so much. I got to say, I've been a fan of the site for many number of years. I've read many articles online for since I've been a teenager. So it's an honor. Really.
Thank you. Yeah, go. It's mutual. Goes both ways. But thank you, and we'll see you in May.
No problem. It's been a pleasure.
Absolutely. Bye-bye, Brandon. Thank you. There you have it, folks. My interview with Brandon Yeagley of CROBOT. Check out their tour coming up with Volbeat and Anthrax in the spring, and of course their album Something Supernatural. And thus wraps up another show. If you like what you've heard, please head over to iTunes and leave a review. 5 stars is preferable. And of course, listen to us on Stitcher, TuneIn, Spreaker, iHeartRadio, and of course, check out Mars Attacks, Talking Metal, and all the podcasts, Metal Raps, all the podcasts in the Talking Metal family. Mark, any last words?
Yeah, one cool thing you guys can do is you can all go to the iTunes page, the One-on-One with Mitch Lafon iTunes page, and leave a review there. It's very helpful and helps keep our profile up on iTunes.
Yeah, and what they do is with those wonderful reviews, the more positive reviews, the more they help push the show. And of course, the more they push the show, the more shows we can bring you. So there you go.
Yes. Keep those negative reviews to yourself. Then if you have a positive review, go leave it on the iTunes page.
Yeah. If you don't like what you hear, well, I apologize. But if you like what you hear, please help us out. We give you the interviews and the stars. Give us 5 stars and a thank you. There you go.
Perfect.
Isn't it great to beg? Folks, no more begging. Only great interviews coming your way. Of course, listen to Metal Raps, One-on-One with Mitch Lafon, Talking Metal, Mars Attacks, and everything else. Thank you, folks.